Hispanic Patriot podcast, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location in the newest battleground state of Colorado. Here we speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God. Thanks for joining us this Hispanic Heritage Month. My name is Nicholas Razzo, and without further adu, I present to you all our fearless patron, Hugo Chavez Rey. Give it up for the Hispanic Patriots. All
right, everyone. Little humor there to start the show tonight. Welcome to another edition of the Hispanic Patriot podcast. And as our gracious co-host Nicholas said, we are behind enemy lines. If you look
for now.
But we've got a jam-packed show for you tonight. And in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, as we continue on with our month-long celebration, we want to highlight a very important individual, Hispanic individual, a world-renowned chef, Mr. Aaron Sanchez. And we're going to let him give us a little bit of his background. Here we go.
Might have to bring the sound on that, Hugo.
Oh.
That's okay.
All right. Technical issues here. What's going on?
That's okay. A little bit of a Hispanic Heritage Month announcement from us is that very soon Hispanic Patriot will be going to the streets to ask people about their opinions on this upcoming election and many other things, but most importantly, Hispanic issues. We're going to be visiting our Hispanic friends in our own neighborhoods very soon, not only to walk doors and help people get out to vote, but also to bring their voices straight to our audience, because we believe in the power of the people and in the power of the people's voice. And we should never forget how powerful that is.
Let's try this again.
Let's see here. Nope, not yet. That's okay. But you all can see the words on this, and that is the most important thing. It's true. And we definitely do too, folks. Everybody have a great time. We still got 13 days of Hispanic Heritage Month. Don't let it go by. Find a fun event near you, or just get a piñata at Walmart and invite the local kids over. Whatever you want to do, enjoy it.
Yep. All right. Before we have our guest of honor tonight, our Congressman, Greg Lopez, a good friend of mine, and he's going to fill us in on what Hispanic Heritage Month means to him and what's been going on in the swamp in D.C.
Yeah.
Before we do that, I want to touch a little bit about the vice presidential debate last night. I thought that J.D. Vance just knocked it out of the park. And I'm not saying that just because I'm biased. I think it's fact. Everywhere I've read, people have written about what he did. And I believe that he basically sealed the deal last night for the Republican ticket. Unfortunately, his counterpart, Mr. Tim Walz, was looked like a scared rabbit on screen. I mean, he was bobbing his head, making some weird reactions. Uh, the one thing I will say that did go well for the debate is it was civil.
It
I think
was.
they both did a good job in the sense of sticking to the issues. Um, Mr. Walls, of course, lied through his teeth on a lot of facts, but
Well, they got to. Democrats don't have a lot without those.
yeah, I mean, they just can't help themselves, folks. But how do you not be attracted to the story of J.D. Vance? He is a true American rags to riches story. And when I say riches, I'm not talking about wealth in the sense of money. This man came up from nothing in Appalachia,
Yeah.
raised by an alcoholic and drug addicted mother, and then basically turned over to his grandmother, his maternal grandmother, who basically took over
Raised
raising
him.
him when his mother was no longer able to. Now, the good news is that today his mother is healed up. She is sober, and she is very proud of her son for his accomplishments. But I think the American story could not be any better told. If you haven't seen the movie Hillbilly Elegy or read the book, I highly recommend it to you. It is a very well done movie, and the book is even better. So I highly recommend if you want to get to know more about J.D. Vance and put all the noise aside from the left wing media that's trying to basically turn him into a caricature like they do with President Trump. Um, that's how you get to know the man. And the more he is in the public limelight, I think the more obvious it becomes that President Trump made an excellent selection for his VP running mate, and this is going to be a strong ticket, and we're looking forward to 34 more days, folks. We are 34 days away from freedom, from the people speaking their minds and putting an end to this disaster regime that's in place right now. So remember, ballots are dropping in several states already. Here in Colorado, ballots will be dropping next week. Um, when you get your ballot, fill it out, turn it in immediately. Don't wait, don't sit on it, and make sure that you help others turn theirs in. Help others to vote, make sure that they're going to vote and that they turn in their ballots. If somebody is unable physically, offer to carry their ballot to the drop box yourself. And that's how we get the votes out. We cannot sit on this election, folks. We have to vote, and we have to vote in high numbers. So don't take anything for granted. The polls are skewed. This race is not close, but we have to vote, and that's the best advice I can give. But
I couldn't agree more, Hugo. I really couldn't. And I want to encourage all young people definitely to vote. Go and vote. And don't think it's not square, it's not uncool. Participating in the Republic is honestly one of the most interesting, coolest things you can do. This is an institution that is 300 years old and has its roots thousands of years older than that. You are participating in history. And young people especially have to care because we're the ones who are going to be suffering from the results of it long term, even longer than our older friends. Because if Kamala Harris gets in with Tim Walz, we're going to have a lot of rights under assault, a lot more anxiety, a lot more problems. If you are a Democrat out there, I'd recommend voting for Donald Trump. The Democrats aren't going to change unless they see a huge defeat. You need to help them be defeated if you are a Democrat and you don't like the way the Democrat Party is being run right now. They're not going to listen to a third-party vote. They're not going to listen to any hee-hawing. They're going to listen to you voting for the other guy and saying, I'm going to do that again if you don't fly right. That's my best advice to young Democrats. And yes, you're right, Hugo. JD knocked that out of the park. That is absolutely true.
What is one thing that stood out for you last night on the discussion? What is there anything that you found interesting?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, I encourage everybody, please go look at our latest video. It was a full debate commentary, and we're very, very happy with it because it was so much fun. And one of the reasons it was fun is because, in my opinion, JD did a great job at actually humanizing the debate, of actually portraying himself as his authentic self. This is going to be my point, the point that I really loved. When he actually said to Waltz, "I'm sorry, I did not know that your son witnessed a school shooting. Christ have mercy." That was beautiful. And even Tim looked genuine. He appreciated that because there's a certain amount of, we're distancing ourselves from the fight and reminding ourselves that we're human beings. The Democrats lose when we do that. They rely on us being racist, homophobic, humanoid monsters instead of real people who care about Americans, all Americans.
Now,
JD proved it.
They perceive that of Republicans. That's not who we are.
No, not at all. And JD showed that. And I really, really thought that was the most amazing thing is that debate was not like a Trump debate in that sense. It was showing that the future is very bright for the Republican Party.
At that very moment, I could hear the air going out of the Democratic balloon because they wanted him to come off as a weirdo, snide, pompous, and he was totally opposite of that. And anybody with half a brain and who is intellectually honest cannot say anything bad about what his performance was.
No, but did you notice JD used the word weird very early on, and he took that away from them. Walz was left totally defenseless. And what does a defenseless aggressor usually act like? A passive person.
Yeah.
The best way to get rid of aggression, folks, disarm the aggressor. That's what you got to do with Democrat arguments, and JD did it.
Well, the one thing that stood out for me was the issue about the pro-life agenda, and in particular, the law that Governor Walz signed into law in Minnesota.
That he couldn't defend very well.
And J.D. Vance pointed it out that in Minnesota, just like in Colorado, there are virtually no restrictions on when an abortion can occur during a pregnancy, all the way up to the day of birth.
Christ have mercy is right.
And so he denied that. He kept saying, "Oh, that's not true. That's not true." So I posted last night immediately. I fact checked him. I pulled it right off of the Minnesota law, and it clearly states in there that there is no restriction as to when an abortion can occur in Minnesota.
Yeah, you can't pull the wool over Coloradans' eyes on that one. We know.
And ours is just as bad. We are, in fact, ours is more radical than the one in Minnesota. But
very sad.
We've got people that demagogue that issue, and they don't understand that that these laws are in place. They try to act like, "Oh, Republicans want a national ban on abortion." No, we don't. We wanted Roe v. Wade repealed because that was bad law to begin with.
Yes.
And it was supposed to be in the hands of the states.
Federalism, people.
Where it is today. And, the Democrats, what do they want to do? They want to codify it into the Constitution. Well, I hate to tell them, but to get it amended into the Constitution requires 36 states to have a constitutional convention. And I guarantee you they're not getting 36 states to agree to that, because I can't remember the count, but I think 28 or 30 states are Republican, and they're not going to go for that. So, they can whine about it all they want, but that was a big lie. And of course, the moderators didn't fact check him. or they didn't let them do that. Do what they
You
wanted to
posted
do.
about that though, actually, that JD
I
called
did.
out the moderators.
Yep, he did. He called them out and he said, "You're not following your own rules, so I'm going to speak." And I thought
And they did after that. They listened.
that was perfect. So our
It really
guest
was.
seems to be running a little late. Let me see if I've got a message on here.
That's okay. But for
Go,
those of you, please.
go ahead and talk while I'm doing this real quick.
Absolutely. Well, folks, as I said before, I encourage you all to look at our latest video of the commentary of the vice presidential debate. But as Hugo just mentioned, a huge, huge aspect of this was the control that JD exerted. He was able to get Walz to respond to him in proper ways. He was able to show in two different situations. He forced Walz to admit he was wrong without apologizing necessarily, without fully admitting the fullness of what he did on the law, as Hugo mentioned, but also at a different point, which escapes me at the present moment, but I'm sure I remember, where again Tim Walz was saying, no, that's not it. But JD actually pressed on him and said, hey, then how is it? If your law doesn't say this, then what does it say? Tim Walz couldn't say that. He also had to admit, oh, yeah, you're right. I wasn't in China during that Tiananmen Square thing. I misspoke. But he didn't apologize. He didn't say, I did wrong. JD did immediately afterwards. JD really showed that he was the bigger man in a lot of situations. He got the debate moderators to follow their own rules. What candidate have you all ever seen do that? Even Donald Trump can't control the moderators because they have too much feeling, too much hatred for him, truly. JD doesn't have that because he's the young, clean, kind guy who's still tough. That's what us Republicans have. Guys like us, guys like our own chairman. This is what values Republicans have, and it's what's going to bring us into the future. Tough, efficient, but kind and graceful.
All right. So I got a message from our guest. He's logging in a minute here. And in the meantime, we want to make sure that people understand that the vice presidential debates are not usually never resulting in any kind of effect on the presidential race.
Not usually.
Not usually, but I think last night was an exception.
I agree.
I think that JD came across as very informed. He was on the issues. He was factual, and there's nothing that they can do to try to take away from that because nothing that he said was not factual. And and the Democrats may disagree on policy and what what our positions are as Republicans, but they can't call him a liar, and they can't say that he propagated any lies.
No.
Everything he said was factual, and that left Mr. Walz rather speechless.
Without ammunition, honestly, he had very little attack. This is a huge step for Republicans also, people. Hugo, you remember how long Republicans have been universally demonized. If we can break that, that's an amazing step forward, and that wins Republicans a lot of support that have been taken away a lot of this time. So good on you, JD. Thanks for advancing the cause and fighting for America.
So we've got, like we said, 34 days. So what we want to do in the next 34 days is, if you're a precinct person, walk your precinct, go out into the streets and talk to people, call your friends, call your neighbors, call your relatives, and impress upon them the importance of voting.
Yes.
Do not take anything for granted. We've got momentum like we've never had before, and I believe firmly that we've also got the blessings from the Almighty on this, because he knows that this country is going down the tubes and that we're trying to fight against the evil that comes from the left. That's not to say that everyone that's on the left is evil, but I can tell you this, that if they're not following people, then then they're just they're guilty by association.
It's
All
true.
right, so we've got our guest who has logged in. He's in the waiting room. So let's go ahead and introduce him, Mr. Razo.
Absolutely. Tonight we have a great guest of great honor on Hispanic Patriot, born in Texas, from a family of farm workers. He joined the United States Air Force, much like my co-host here, where as a weapons specialist, he would give his hearing for our country, but has never had any problems hearing the needs of his constituents, especially when he became the young mayor of Parker, 27, where he advocated sustainable development, which would be an important issue for Colorado for years to come. He was appointed in 2008 to the Western District Regional Director, that's a mouthful, for the Small Business Administration, where he'd served faithfully for several years. But his service to Colorado and Colorado Hispanic Republicans wouldn't end there. Since 2016, he's been advocating for Colorado conservative values on the campaign trails, which led him in 2024 to victory in the 4th special election for the 4th District, which allows us today to introduce him as the Honorable Congressman Greg Lopez.
Greg,
hey guys,
welcome.
It's great to have you.
Yeah,
are you in Washington or at home?
No, I'm here at home, but I just left a conference from downtown Denver on energy, so it's been a busy day today.
Well,
Very nice.
That goes with the territory, right?
It does. It's true when they tell you, be careful what you ask for because you might get it.
Ain't that the truth? And never be good at something you don't want to do.
So, give us a little bit of a little tidbit of what you've been experiencing in the swamp. The good, the bad, the ugly.
Well, you know what? I think the best way that I can explain it to a lot of people is like I'm kind of like that foreign exchange student. I kind of show up at the end of the year. Nobody really knows me, so everybody's trying to get to know me, and then at the end of the year, I'm gone and they're never going to see me again, so I can tell you that I've made some great friends, both on the D's with congressmen, congress members, and on the R's. I've been very fortunate, had some great conversations. I think one of the biggest surprises for me is how long a day it can be when you're in D.C. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I may make it back home to where I'm staying by 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night.
Oh, gosh.
But it's full of, different hearings, votes, talking to people, constituents, having meetings with a lot of different groups and organizations. And so, the day goes by fast, but so that's the good thing, right? I get to really be able to be the voice of CD4, listen to the constituents, represent them, have a strong voice for the district here in Colorado. And so that's been the good, some of the bad, you get to see some of the pettiness that happens between, the parties, some of the debates, that are going on, and there's still some name calling that's going on, which is kind of interesting, but some of the ugly, I think, is that, when it comes down to there's too many people that put politics over people, and I like to put people over politics. In the resolution that we just did, because we can't seem to pass, which I find as I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to pass the appropriation bills, and I'm still working on that. But in all, guys, it's a privilege and an honor to be out there. I tell people, what, Congress is everything you think it is. Just multiply it 10 times, and you're there.
Well, thank you for suffering on our behalf, sir. Definitely on that note.
Well, you know what? It's like Hugo and I, right? We're in the military, so I look at it as a temporary duty assignment. This is a TDY, right?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful right there.
Yeah. I've been called to duty. I'm going to be there for 6 months, and then I'll come back home to Colorado and continue doing what I was doing here. So, it's really not something that I'm dreading or regretting. It's just something that I know that, with a limited time that I'm there and some of the challenges that we're facing as a nation, it's really tough to get things done when you have such a divided country as well as a Congress, when you only have a 4-vote majority, over the minority. And then, of course, in the Senate is the opposite. So, it's interesting to see our government work, but it's the best across the world. So, no complaints. Just trying to make sure we move forward.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, if everything goes all right, in about 34 days, you're going to have a very prestigious spot at the inauguration on January 20th.
Well, unfortunately, we'll see. Because remember, I'm there only for the 118th Congress. I'm not going into the 119th.
That's
No,
true.
I know, but you still have the clout to get an invitation. I
And
guarantee you.
it's probably a true statement. This probably is a true statement.
I think Hugo's fighting for the seat next to you. Is what's going on here, Greg.
My +1 is already spoken for.
There you go. Your lovely wife. There you are.
Right.
Shout out to all of our wives.
I was at the one in 2017. I was off to the. If you're facing out, I was off to the right, about 100 yards away.
There you go. There you go.
Well, you can't get any closer than that.
There you go, my friend. Well, Greg, you have a very unique opportunity then, my friend, because that means that you are in Congress as a congressman when it is a very tight Congress. We've had majorities on each side, but this really is a very rare time where it's very deadlocked.
It is. Who would have thought, right, that we have a sitting president that no longer can run because of his party. And all of a sudden, our candidate, former President Trump, 3 assassination attempts on him already, before even the election. And here we are with a divided nation. I'll be a sitting congressman on election night, and we get to see how the country's going to respond, either side, to the results. And then we'll see what happens with, who wins the House, who wins the Senate. We still got a lot of work to do between now and January. And so it is a very unique time. And I've been blessed. You guys have followed my career. You kind of gave a little bit of the summary of it. And now I'm sitting in the same chairs and walking in the same hallways that a lot of the prestigious lawmakers, and I'm involved in the decisions that are impacting, every family across America, not only CD4, but all the families in this nation. And it's an interesting position to be in, specifically, with all the crises that we're having to deal with.
Yes. So along those lines, I take it did you get a chance to watch the debate last night?
I did watch a little bit of the debate. It's clear who the winner is, right? It was clear.
So all eyes involved.
What were your thoughts on what you got to see?
What I really enjoyed was seeing a statesman, right? J.D. Vance was a statesman. He answered the questions. He made sure there was clarity to his answers. He made sure people understood, the totality of the situations, where the blame should be. He wasn't tossing grenades. He was just being honest and forthright. And even when the moderators were trying to cut him off, when he was trying to explain, that the people in Ohio, they're not here necessarily legally, it was just a stroke of the pen that allows them to be here. I thought it was a very probably one of the better debates as it pertains to decorum, to the exchange, right? But it definitely you can tell which side the moderators are going and how they phrase the questions. But J.D. Vance, if any future politician wants to know, how do you deal with the media when they're up against you, they need to watch what he did, and they'll be able to do the same.
Yeah, that was, I thought that was a poignant moment. And I did my own fact checking on Governor Walz when he was trying to deny his radical abortion law in
Right.
Minnesota. And I pulled it up and I posted it last night. And basically, I posted the line that says that in Minnesota, there is virtually no restriction as to when an abortion can occur, all the way up to the date of birth.
Right.
So he was trying to deny that. And he said, that's not true. And, I wish it would have been brought out more. But anyway, people can see the laws in Minnesota and, of course, here in Colorado, which is even more radical.
Right.
So they can't hide from that. And I think people with, people with minds of their own, they they will understand how radical the Democrats have become on that issue.
Very true.
And basically, it's the only issue that they've got that they try to propose. That they're trying to confuse the electorate and make Republicans look like the radicals. Oh, President Trump wants to ban a national ban on abortion. No, he said the opposite.
We've got two extremes. One is real and one is not. And that actually brings up an interesting question, Greg. So you're in Congress, but you've also had immense experience with the people of Colorado. So I would love to know, in your opinion, how do people in Congress, in terms of who they are as people, their character and mannerisms and such, how do they compare to the average American, in your opinion?
You know, it's I would say, you know what, they're down to earth. If they're not in front of the camera and they're not talking to constituents or doing a keynote speech, you know, they come down to earth. They're peers, right? We all know we're in the same kind of situation. And so there's a cloakroom, you know, that is where members can wait for the vote to come. And a lot of members go back there and they, you know, they'll either grab a bite. You know, I go back there and I have, you know, either an ice cream Klondike bar because it's late in the evening. But
good choice.
Yeah, but you know what? We get a chance to kind of engage. And so, you know, they're down to earth. They're struggling with the same things, with family issues, with the inflation. You know, they're trying to do everything that they can. And, you know, if we could maintain that relationship and maintain that decorum when we get in front of the cameras, when we get in front of the general public, I think people would recognize that, you know what, we're not necessarily monsters. We don't hate each other. We may disagree, but, you know, we're still down to earth people. We still care about our families. We still care about America. We just have a different worldview and how we get there and what's the right thing to do. But ultimately, you know, one of the best things that happened, Hugo, you're going to love this. So Congress has a football game against the Capitol Police. You guys remember the longest yard?
Yes.
And so it's a flag football, you know, and they asked me, you know, I think it was the second week that I was there, if I was interested in playing. I said, of course I am. You know, why wouldn't I? You know, so,
very nice.
So I played, you know, and I didn't realize, because I don't know the faces of these players, right? But there's congressmen that were playing, and I can't tell whether they're R's or D's, so I'm just treating them like teammates. And the day of the game, it was a Wednesday morning, I'm sitting on the floor waiting to make my speech and talk about what's going on. And then I look across the aisle and there are three of my teammates that I didn't know that they were Democrats, but we've been playing football already we went to practice. And so we played that game. I made an interception, you know, made Colorado look good.
Yeah. Good job, Greg.
Yeah, I got voted the most valuable player of the game.
Wow.
And so, you know, and now my colleagues that we play together, you know, I see them in the hallway. They give me a high five. You know, and these are Democrats, but we were able to build a bond, right, without the political winds blowing. And so while we know that we're not necessarily in agreement, we treat each other with respect and kindness and compassion because, you know, we were out there working together trying to beat the Capitol Police. We did lose, but at least we scored a touchdown.
They are cops, so they got a little advantage there. But that's wonderful, Greg. That's actually, I hope all of our viewers take a lot of hope from that, is we don't have to be a divided country if we just let down the things that we put forth as our personas. You got to be yourself, folks, because yourself is a real American.
Uh-oh. I think we lost her. Yes.
Oh, no.
I'll be back. Hold on. Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, that the Congress against the Capitol Police. I wonder if the police brought out the handcuffs.
Well, maybe if they lost, it'd be different. You know what I mean? It depends on how bad they beat them, you know? But that's amazing, folks. I want everybody to remember that story very, very, very clearly, because it really shows if we can get people to put down their characters that they have for the cameras, we could honestly be a great nation. You know, that's what just goes to show. The media is really the problem. The media drives us against each other. That's honestly a very serious and very real problem that we have, is the media. And the more we call it out, the more people see it on the presidential stages, on the debates, and other situations, the more people are going to say, you know what? I don't need this. I think I'd rather get my news from Hispanic Patriot.
There you go. I wonder if Greg's neighbor is a Democrat. We cut off his internet.
Got to invite him to a football game right there. You know what I mean? Get it all right again.
So while we wait for him to get back, the thing that's interesting to me is, you know, like I said, I've known Greg for quite a while, and he's run for governor now, I think twice. I think he'd make a great governor, and I think that if I think your kid coming back on here.
Oh, we'd love that.
If we can find him.
Welcome back, Greg. You're halfway there.
I know.
You're okay. We know how many things you're working on, Greg. We would never rush you, my friend.
We were wondering if your neighbor was a Democrat.
Yeah, you never know, right? Sometimes
invite him to a football game. You got to invite him to a football game.
I should. So now, I think it's about building relationships, right? We build relationships. I went, just to give you an idea, I've been trying to make a concerted effort to go and visit with the Colorado delegation. And so I was able to sit down with Diana DeGette, and I was very pleased because, what you guys may recall, Diana made some very nice remarks when I got sworn in. She is the senior Congress member for the Colorado delegation. So she took the lead in introducing me to
30 years.
Yeah. But here's what she told me. She goes, Greg, I'm so glad you reached out, and I'm so glad we're having a sit down, because we used to do this. We used to sit down with our colleagues and talk about things and evaluate things. And I just wish that we could do this more often, but you taking the initiative to reach out to me really shows that you're here for the right reason. And I think that's really what we need to do, is just recognize that we may disagree, but ultimately we're all trying to improve everybody's quality of life. And if we can focus on that, I think we can all get things done a lot faster.
That's beautiful. It's like your football game. We might be in different positions, but we're all on the same team, America.
That's right. Yep, well, exactly.
As a CD1 constituent, please tell her that I'd like to see her more often.
I would tell her that. I would definitely let her know that, hey, there's a constituent by the name of Hugo Chavez. He wants to see you. I'll even give her your cell number, man. How's that?
We'd love to have her on the show. Look at that. Well, I should let Hugo make that decision. That is your congressman, congresswoman.
Right. We're open to anybody that wants to come on. We will be civil if people want to come on from the other side. We've invited others. We haven't had any takers yet, but I agree to a point. You have to be civil. But you also have to fight for what you believe in and what's right.
Well, to your point,
fighting the good fight is respectful.
Yeah, you don't give up your values. You don't give up, your platform and what you believe in. But just because you can't convince them to see the way you are seeing the world does not make them a bad person. I just look at it one of two ways. Either they're being very close-minded, or I'm not using the right words yet to be able to have them see what I see, from my perspective. So it's always an ongoing conversation, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens after the election. We'll be back in Congress. So I'm here traveling the district. I probably have in the next 20 days, I probably have a total of 40 meetings that have already been scheduled by my team. I'll be down in Lamar. I'll be down in La Junta. I'll be traveling up to Hugo, back to Lincoln, having a meeting there. Going up to Yuma. Yeah. Going up to Yuma, traveling the district, talking to different groups and organizations and getting the feel for where they're at. So it doesn't stop. And then when we go back in November, the 9th, I believe it is, right after the election, we'll get to see how everybody responds when we get back, and we know who controls the House, who controls the Senate, and who's going to control the White House, to see how people start adjusting their agendas, or if things are going to get worse or better. But it's interesting times, that's for sure.
Isn't that the truth?
With God listening, am predicting a Republican sweep.
There you go.
Your words to God's ears, Hugo. Absolutely. And
right.
it's one of the best times actually to have you on, Greg, actually, because as you know, we are in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. You know,
So-
and I made a couple of remarks on the floor about Hispanic Heritage Month, you know, recognizing the contribution of the Hispanics, not only to America, but to Colorado. You know, the things that we bring to the table, you know, La Junta, you know, Colorado, you know, Alamosa. I mean, all the names.
Pueblo.
Yeah, Pueblo.
Pueblo.
All the names that a lot of people don't realize come with a Latin Spanish culture because we, you know, if you follow your history, we were here first, right? But ultimately,
It's true.
you know, we're all American citizens, and so we all should be proud. And I encouraged all my brothers and sisters to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month for what it is. And Hugo, you'll love this because I don't know if you did it or Raymond came up with it, but I ended my speech in saying, and to all my brothers and sisters that are not Hispanic, let me just assure you that if you like tacos, you're one of us.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. That's beautiful. We say here on Hispanic Patriot, you don't have to be Hispanic to be a Hispanic Patriot.
That's right.
And remember, the name of the state is Colorado.
Colorado,
right.
to turn red.
Which means red.
That's right.
It's destiny, Republican destiny here in our home state.
Right. That's right. Yep.
So has there been any events in Washington regarding Hispanic Heritage Month? Did you get invited to the White House by the president?
No, you know what? No, not that I'm aware of. I did
Give
get
it time.
I was invited to an event. I don't know that I would call it an event focused on Hispanic Heritage Month, but LULAC, Naleo had an event. And I went to the event. I was invited, you know, so Lisa and I, my wife, we went and had participated in the program. They were giving a national award to one of the senators from New Mexico. So I did get to meet some people across the country from Hispanic communities, but it was Naleo, and it wasn't necessarily promoted as a Hispanic Heritage Month event, but it was predominantly focused on the Hispanic heritage.
Very beautiful.
I went to the White House twice for Hispanic Heritage Month at the invitation of President Trump back in 17 and 18.
Well, there you go.
And Joe, in one of those trips, Joe Trujillo was with me.
Right.
And we had a blast. It was great. You know, we got the food layout was incredible.
Oh, I bet. Trump knows his food.
Yeah. And, you know, President Trump came out and he greeted everyone and then he mingled and I got to meet the governor of Puerto Rico.
There you go.
And some other dignitaries. So we got to mingle with people from around the country. And
Yep.
And there were a lot of Hispanic businessmen there and women. Mm-hmm. Who were there at the invitation of President Trump, and it was they were both great events. Those are very memorable events for me. So I know,
was Congress in session when you went?
You know, I don't know. It was in October. It was early October when we.
Well, and it could be, you know, since we're not there, right? I'm not aware. Maybe they're having a celebration, and I just wasn't invited because we're not in session. You know.
Fair enough. Yes.
Well, there were. I mean, I remember seeing some elected officials there, obviously, at the time, and in fact, one of them was Mitch McConnell.
Oh, there you go.
Got to meet him briefly, and some other elected officials, but it was really a non-political event. It was more mingling, talking about Hispanic contributions to the nation. They honored some special guests for the event and talked about their contributions to America, and that's what it was all about. And I was
that's what this month is all about, to be honest.
That's what
exactly.
I think that we need to expand it more, in the sense that we need to have more events having going forward here, and especially here in Colorado. I was hoping to have some kind of a gathering, but it didn't materialize in time. So I don't know if we're going to be able to do that.
But it's something that we can work on, absolutely.
We've been talking
we
about
are the Fiesta people.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing a small gathering. It could be you and Raymond and have
five.
Have Dave.
Well, Ray counts as three.
But maybe we can pull something off before the month runs out.
There you go. But Greg, you actually mentioned something very interesting about Hispanic contribution to America. I'm very curious. What do you believe is the strongest contribution that Hispanic Americans have brought to America? What do you think we most are known for and have value for here in America?
Well, let me answer the question this way. I believe that the Hispanic culture helped conquer the West, and a lot of people don't know that, because the cowboy comes from the Hispanic,
Vaqueros,
right? And so, roping skills, cowling skills, all that type of stuff, right, came from Spain, came from Mexico, and we were the ones that helped kind of develop the West along those routes. When it comes to culture today, I think, it's clear that the Hispanic community is probably one of the most hardworking ethnicities in America today. We show up for work. We don't show up late. We're doing the hard labor. We're doing the construction. We're doing the vertical, the horizontal. When you go out there and you see who's building the highways, who's building the roads, who's building the buildings, you'll see the Hispanic culture actively involved in building what a lot of people say economic progress. Well, we're part of that economic progress, and so there's a lot that we contribute that a lot of people are kind of blinded by, because they just think it just happens. But the Hispanic community is growing in its economic power, and it's growing in its political power. And so these are the types of things that I recognize, from a history. What has the Hispanic culture done? We've always been a part of building America in all facets.
My son's roofing company, he tells me that his best crews are all Hispanic.
Yep.
There's one crew in particular from El Salvador who's the leader of the crew is very conservative, by the way, and he says that crew is just top of the line. I mean, he says he doesn't have to worry when they assign a job to them. They don't have to go looking out behind them or checking up on them, because they're reliable.
That reminds me of work back home in Chicago right here, because you know what the second hardest working group is Polish Americans as well. So Hispanics and Polish working together build America quite a lot,
That's right. And to add to that, one of the things that I've done in Congress, and we're finishing this bill, and I hope to be able to drop it as soon as I get back in November. But, we are being invaded. There's no question about it. Our borders are open. But one of the things that I'm looking to do is called the red card solution. And it's a red card where it's a non-citizen work permit program.
Helen Kriebel. Helen Kriebel.
Exactly. It is Helen's brainchild.
Yep.
And I'm promoting it, right? Because
awesome.
The legislation has been written. I'm tweaking it a little bit, but it does allow for our economy to continue to survive. But if you don't have this red card, we're going to ask you, what are you doing here? And if you can't have a good answer, we're going to deport you.
Very good.
What we want is people to take full advantage of the opportunities of America.
And
even this guest card is not a path to citizenship. It's not a path to amnesty. It gives you the right to be here, but you're only here for 7 years. If you haven't taken the initiative to become a citizen in 7 years, then it's clear that you don't want to be a citizen and you can't work in here anymore, because there's other people that want to come forward and take advantage of the opportunity that America has to offer.
Brilliant system.
Do you remember the immigration forum we did where Helen was there?
Yep, sure do.
Yeah,
it was at at the
the
athletic
Denver
club.
Athletic Club. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was one of the best ones we did. And, I always wondered why that particular agenda was not carried forward. And I'm glad that you're doing that, because I think that
Yes, thank you.
it's the perfect solution to the issue, because
Look.
statistics show something.
Hey, there it is.
There it is.
Nice and easy.
The statistics show that about 65% of the Hispanic immigrants that come here to work are really not interested in citizenship. They're interested in being able to work here for a time,
Right,
sending money back home, whatever, but legally working and taking care of their families. And so everybody just naturally assumes that everybody that wants to come here to work wants to be a citizen.
right.
They don't. A lot of them are proud of their citizenship in their home countries, but they want the ability. They know that the opportunity to work is here, and so they need that solution. And that would clean up so much of the illegal immigration, because then people would have an avenue, a vehicle by which to be able to apply, come work here legally, not be harassed or be, labeled illegal or whatever,
Right.
and be able to do what they need to do. And we do what we take care of what we need, which is workers in certain industries.
Yep.
And let the employers select the workers that they want for whatever jobs they have.
And to rotate like that as well. Greg, I think that one of the most brilliant parts of this is the rotation of it. It's only a certain amount of years, because new blood coming into the country, we want that. But if it's the blood that's been illegal this entire time for 10, 20, 30 years, and that's not really new blood, that's not new mindsets, that's not new workers. That is a brilliant part of it, honestly. And that's one reason why Hispanic Patriot very strongly supports your initiative on this.
Well, thank you.
What has been the reception to your proposal?
Everybody likes it. One of the things is that because of the election, because of where we are in the calendar, right? We're going to drop this bill as soon as I get back in November. It's got to go to committee. I've already talked to Jim Jordan, because it's going to go first to the Judiciary Committee because of the rules and the laws that we're going to be changing. He's aware of it. He's excited about it. Now, I'm just planting the seed. I'm hoping either Congresswoman Lauren Boebert or someone else picks it up, because I'm not going to be there to see it through its entitled process. But, they're receptive. I think right now, Hugo, like you said, the timing is good, because people are talking about immigration. They want to figure out, how do we solve this? How do we make sure that we only have the right individuals that are here, not the criminal element that seems to be taking over our communities? This is a means by which we can do that, right? Because if you have a red card, then you know that you are allowed to be here. If you don't have a red card, we're going to ask you, what are you doing here? Because you're not here to work. You're here to do something else. And so
one other added aspect to this whole immigration issue, in my opinion, and I've studied it thoroughly for the last 15 years plus, and that is that employers have to be held accountable for hiring illegal workers.
Sure.
Because if you don't take that away, look, in Peru, they have very heavy fines and in some cases criminal penalties for employers that employ illegals in Peru, and that's a third world country. Okay, so
from someone who's from there, so take it.
The Venezuelans have crossed into Peru as well, but you know what? They're all on the street because they can't be hired. They won't be hired by employers down there.
Right.
And so they're pandering on the streets and doing whatever they can to survive. But that's, it's a sad situation for people who are true refugees. And this whole issue of asylum has been, in my opinion, bastardized to the hilt, because if my numbers are correct, less than 5% of people who come here and claim asylum actually qualify under our asylum laws.
J.D. Vance actually mentioned that during the Price presidential debate.
Yep. Exactly.
Asylum fraud is what he called it. That's a nice phrase to use, honestly.
Right.
Oh, man. But Greg, there's please, Hugo, if you had
No,
something.
I was going to say I wanted to praise Greg for bringing that forth. I think that's something that I was hoping for, and I'm glad to see that you started the ball rolling, and hopefully, like you said, somebody's going to pick it up. Do you have a co-sponsor?
Well, like again, I've been talking to people about it. They're interested in co-sponsoring it. They're finalizing the language, right? So
Okay.
until I have the language, the concept, people are like, "Hey, Greg, as soon as you get it, give me the language. I'll look at it." I'm going to tell you right now, the bill is probably about 48 pages long because
It's
we're
not
trying
bad.
to make sure we address all the issues that we need to address. It's not going to be 900 pages long. It's about 48 pages long. But you know what? It's a starting point, right? Because we know it's going to get marked up. We know that the committees are going to try to modify it or adjust it, which is fine. Ultimately, right, we still got to get it through the Senate, and we still got to get a president to sign it. But it's a good speaking point, and it's also a good seed to plant because this immigration issue is not going to go away after the election. We're
Yep.
still going to have to do with the economy and the labor market. And so this is a good way for whoever wins the election. And I support mass deportation, but it's got to be once we know who's here to work and who's not here to work.
Yeah. Well,
Multifaceted.
we start with the criminals. Those are the
That's
obvious
right.
ones, and
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like
those
JD said.
those need to be rounded up as quickly as possible. We know where they are in a lot of cases, and there's absolutely no reason why there can't be a mass deportation of the criminals to begin with. And
That's
then
right.
we
Benefit
work,
all of us.
yep. And then we work on, the other issues. There can be compassion for different circumstances and such. We're not totally heartless, but this open border thing has got to end. And I believe President Trump would love this red card solution. And I think that we're going to have the House and the Senate to do it. So that's going to be great, and that'll be a feather in your cap.
There it is.
For when you run for governor.
Absolutely. And you will be announcing it here on Hispanic Patriot, I'm sure. But Greg, we do have that confidence in you because for Hispanic Republicans and Hispanic conservatives, having, like you said, voice and representation inspires the rest of us. We can say, hey, if he can do it, I can do it too. We hope to be that for Hispanics. We hope to be that for young people.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful thing. My father taught me that. He said, Nick, you are not just representing yourself. If you're a man, every action that you take falls on all men. Mexican, Hispanic, same exact thing. Your religion, same exact thing.
Yep.
You are definitely showing everybody in the Hispanic community that it can be done. We do have a voice. I think you might agree. Oftentimes, we are very shy people.
Yep.
It's difficult for us to come out of our communities into the limelight. But as Ronald Reagan said, let us be shy no longer.
That's
I'm not shy.
Well, we knew that, Hugo, about you. And we love you for it. But Greg, if there's anything else you would like to tell our audience about yourself or anything else, please, you have the floor.
Well, look, here's what I would tell your audience. Look, this election, and I know you hear it a lot, that it's one of the most important elections, but it truly is. When you look at the worldview, look at the debate that happened the other night. There are two separate worldviews that they're trying to articulate. And we must decide, do we like the world we live in? And if we like the world we live in, then let's just stay with the status quo. But if we don't like the world we live in, then we need to change it. And the way we change it is by actively voting, by being out there, championing those values that makes America, America, and not listening and drinking the Kool-Aid of that utopia that everything's going to be fine. That we're going to give $25,000 to first-time home buyers. We're going to give $6,000. You know what?
It worked so well in 2008, of course.
Right. We're $35 trillion in debt. $35 trillion. And it goes up by $1 trillion every 100 days. So do your homework. For those that have yet undecided, there are 14 initiatives on the Colorado ballot outside of the president.
Yep.
Let's look at Colorado as well, because the way they're looking to modify the election process, the way they're looking to do the codification of abortion rights here in Colorado, there's so much, folks. You need to get informed, and you need to make good informed decisions when you vote. Ballots, I think, in the next 10 days.
Yep. And in that,
Yeah.
to that point, the ranked choice voting is opposed by the Democrats too.
That's right.
Yes.
So
Y'all look at Hispanic Patriot. We actually did a video from our last show on that very topic.
Right.
Yep.
You know,
So-
not to rain on your parade, Hugo, but you know what? The Democrats also opposed open primaries, and yet we ended up with the open primary. So
Greg's got a
we'll
good point
get the
there.
unaffiliated voters to see it.
That's true, but this one is a little more invasive to both parties.
I agree. Totally agree.
But Greg's got a point. Keep your eyes out, folks. Never let your guard down in politics.
That's right.
So
Yep.
get out and vote. And the last thing that I will leave you with is that the Blue Dog Democrats have come out this time around, and they're out there. And I've spoken myself personally to at least a half a dozen of them. And these are lifelong Democrats, and they're not voting Democrat.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to talk to Democrats, people.
That's right.
Never.
Yep. And I've heard the same thing, Hugo. I'm hearing the same thing, that, they may not change their party affiliation, but they're definitely not going to change. They're not going to vote party this time around.
They're not voting for this ticket. Nope.
That's right.
The only way the Democrats are going to listen, if you Democrats vote for Trump, give Trump a big victory, you'll see the Democrat Party change a little bit. I guarantee it.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. But Greg,
Right.
it has been beautiful time, and we honestly thank you so much for giving us your presence here on
You bet.
Hispanic Patriot.
It's
Thanks
my
for
pleasure.
taking the
You guys-
time out of your busy schedule, and we wish you the best in your remaining term in Washington, and deliver my message to Congresswoman Leggett.
Don't be surprised if she calls you.
There you go. Keep your phone open, Hugo.
All right.
All right.
Congressman Greg Lopez, folks, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank
And
you.
thank you very
Have
much
a good
again.
night, and say hello.
What a pleasant character, folks. From a personal perspective, for both me and Hugo, Greg is a very great friend. He's a fantastic person to be around, and you all just saw it here.
Yep.
We really didn't want to say goodbye. We had a little bit of a Midwest goodbye there. We really didn't
Yeah.
want to say goodbye to our friend Greg there.
Didn't want to say goodbye. But we're out of time, folks. What can I say?
Oh, man.
The clock has caught up with us. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and donate on our Facebook, on our YouTube, on our Rumble, everywhere we are. And we're about to be showing up on Spotify. So
Yet another format that you all can listen to Hispanic Patriots at your viewing or listening pleasure.
So we thank you for tuning in tonight. And remember, we have an important election coming up. Next week, we'll have some more information, and we're getting closer and closer. Just 34 days out. Let's do this, folks. We can run to the finish line and come out victorious on November 5th.
If we fight, fight, fight.
Fight. All right. Good night, folks. God bless you. And